Good day, everybody. I am Janella Chimombe, Business Development Officer at National Blood Service Zimbabwe. Now, in case you're wondering what happens when one donates blood, I am inviting you to join us today as the CEO of National Blood Service Zimbabwe takes us through the whole donation process. Greetings to you, our viewers. Welcome to the NBSZ. Well, today I take you on a journey of the blood donation process. Remember, I did speak to you about the myths surrounding blood donation, but today we want to take you through the whole journey of where you start from when you want to donate blood, what happens to you as you donate blood, and then what happens to your blood when you have donated it. Remember, for you to donate blood, you must be at least 16 years old, at most 65 years old, unless you've been pre-qualified by your doctor to continue giving blood until the age of 70 years. So when you walk through our doors, you get to the registration desk, which is where I am right now. If you're a new donor, you receive a registration form, which you complete. But if you've donated blood before, your details are already in your computer system. So they look them up for you and they print out a form which contains details of your last donation, as well as how many donations you've already made in the past. With this form, you then move into the screening room where you're going to undergo a mini health check. Remember, the mini health check contains just a few questions about your lifestyle and your general well-being. This is to safeguard you as the blood donor, as well as to safeguard the potential recipient. So let us move on into the screening room and find out what happens in there. Armed with my screening form, I proceed to the screening room where I get my weight checked. After the weight check, then the nurse is waiting to carry out the mini health check, where questions on my health and lifestyle are asked, and then my blood pressure is also going to be measured. This is then followed by an estimation of my hemoglobin, just to give an indication that I have sufficient blood to make sure that when I donate, there are no adverse events that may happen. The procedure is very painless. Now that I've qualified for blood donation, I will then take my form signed by the nurse and I will proceed to the donation room, whereupon I will then proceed to make my full blood donation within a few minutes. The whole donation process from the time that I sit in the chair will take between 5 and 10 minutes, and then I'll be ready to be served with a refreshment. Let us proceed and watch me make my donation. We are now in the blood donation clinic. This is where the blood is collected. As you can see, I already have another donor who has come before me, who is almost done with their donation. I'm sure the process was very quick. In less than 10 minutes, the blood unit is almost full. What we have here is sister attending to our blood donor. They are pumping just to speed up the flow of blood into the units. Once the unit of blood is full, the scale will tip over to show that the unit is full, and immediately the blood donation process is completed and the unit is detached in a systematic way. Our nurses are highly trained, very specialized, and they know exactly how to deal with the blood donation process. So we know that we are in good hands when we go through the donation process. So this is the way the blood donation is done, in a very comfortable setting, to make sure that our donors get the best possible care. So welcome to the NBSZ Blood Donation Start Clinics. This is the luxury that you enjoy as you give your blood donation in any of our start clinics. Post blood donation, the donor comes to our donor lounge, whereupon they are served with refreshments.
And refreshments vary according to the donor's preference. These include both non-alcoholic and alcoholic beverages depending on what the donor wants. This is post-donation care that is meant to replenish just the volume of blood that has been lost, and also just to give us enough time to observe the donor for a few minutes to make sure that they are feeling well and are able to go back home in good health after they've given the unit of blood. We also take this time for the donor to give us feedback on our services, should they believe that there are things that they would like to tell us, as well as point out areas of improvement. So suggestion boxes are available, feedback forms are also available, and the donors are able to take time to fill out those forms and drop them in the suggestion box. And if there are areas of improvement that they believe they can give even after they have left, they can still call us on the helplines, as well as send us WhatsApp numbers, WhatsApp messages on the numbers available, and we'll take those feedback and analyze it and try our best to make sure that we improve their donation experience the next time they come. So our donor lounges are also equipped with entertainment areas where the donors can also watch and listen to any entertainment of their choice as they rest and recuperate after they've given their precious unit of blood. When blood has been donated, it comes to the laboratory. The entry and exit of blood is through the dispatch laboratory. So here we are in the dispatch laboratory. When the blood comes into the dispatch laboratory, it is captured onto the laboratory information system. The blood is scanned into the laboratory information system to make sure that the details are entered onto the system. There are two samples that accompany the blood pack. One goes for testing into the blood grouping system. Another one goes for testing for transfusion transmissible infections. This is where we test for HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and syphilis. When the blood has been tested, the units are then input onto the laboratory information system. When all these processes have been completed, the blood is once again taken here in the dispatch laboratory and released for immediate use. So here in the dispatch laboratory, this is where the blood is entered the first time, put into quarantine, and again released for available use through the laboratory information system. Everything at NBSZ is computerized. So we are proud of the computerized information system that makes sure that all our donor records are kept in one place since the year 1987 up until now. As I am speaking, we have blood that is arriving from the fields from a mobile blood drive. It comes in through specialized blood transportation boxes, which are meant to make sure that temperatures are kept at the right transportation levels. This is blood that has been collected from a mobile blood donation center that may have been held hundreds of kilometers away. And as I did mention, when a unit of blood comes in, it is accompanied by two samples that are attached to it. These two samples are then going to be detached and separated. One goes for blood grouping and another one goes for transfusion transmissible infection testing. And immediately the blood is captured onto the laboratory information system and it undergoes quarantine until it is ready for release, when all the test results have been input onto the system and the unit is in compliance and is cleared of any infection. Blood is then brought into the component preparation department. This is where the whole blood that was given by the blood donor is separated into different components that are used for various patient use. When whole blood is donated, we are not going to transfer the whole blood as is into the patient, but various components are made. One unit of blood can be separated into up to 3 different components. This is made by putting the blood into a special machine called a centrifuge and spinning it at a preset temperature depending on the type of components that are going to be made. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3. And this is done by spinning it at very high speed for a defined time. When this process has been completed, the blood is then separated by use of specialized equipment into the 2 or 3 different components. Main component is the red blood cell. The second component is plasma. That plasma may be further separated again into a platelet and a fresh frozen plasma, depending again on the time that the blood was brought into the laboratory from the time of donation. So one blood donation can be separated into 2 or 3 different components, depending on the time it was donated, time of transportation to the laboratory, time of arrival, and temperature of transportation. So now that we have finished spinning our blood, we will then proceed to do the component preparation. We do it in one of 2 ways. The first one is the automated system using our specialized equipment, one of which is this Archimedes machine that we have, whereupon we will hook our blood bag onto the machine. And then it is already well programmed, and then at the press of a button it will then do the component preparation by squeezing the bag that we have centrifuged, and then it will separate out the plasma and detach the bags that contain the plasma from the bag that contains the red blood cells. And then from there onwards, if we need to make platelets, we then take again the bag that contains the plasma, put it back into the centrifuge bucket and put it back into the machine, and then we spin again, and then we do a secondary split, whereupon we will then get the platelets on one side and then the plasma on the other side. Then we take our 3 components. But for 2 component preparation, once this machine has done the separation, we already have 2 components, the plasma and the red blood cells. However, when we do not have access to this machinery, all hope is not lost. We are able to do the exact same process using a manual system, which we developed at National Blood Service, and this mechanical system will now be shown to you, and then we will move on to the testing laboratory after demonstrating the mechanical system to you. The mechanical system is really based on a principle of pressure being applied to the centrifuged blood bag. The pressure is applied onto that bag and it squeezes out the plasma, which is now sitting on top of the centrifuged red blood cells. And then the pressure forces the plasma out into the tubes, and the plasma moves into the secondary bags. And then by observation, the person has now to make sure that when all the plasma has been extracted from the bag, they immediately tie off the bag and seal off the red cells from moving into the bag that contains the freshly extracted plasma. So this one is very mechanical. It is by observation. Human interference is at play here, and one has to be watching every bag. But it is a backup method that has worked over years, and it is very handy when our automated systems are unavailable. This is the donations testing laboratory, where we carry out testing on every unit of donated blood. No matter the donor is new or a repeat donor, we always make sure that we test for 4 disease markers, which are HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and syphilis. We do this religiously on each and every unit of donated blood using this primary machine, which is our Abbott Alinity S machine. And if this system is not working, we have a backup machine, which is our Abbott Architect unit. If a unit tests positive or is reactive on this unit, we then go into secondary testing using another unit altogether, just to make sure that there is concurrence between the first screening that we have done and the secondary screening that we then do. So when this has been done, all our results are put onto the laboratory information system that already contains information on the donor as captured before. Then there is consolidation of the donor records, and then the unit is then released for available use in the dispatch laboratory, where the unit was primarily received. At the same time, we also have blood grouping, which happens within the same laboratory. I will take you to the blood grouping section right away to see what happens. Blood grouping is another essential test that we do on every unit of donated blood. It is essential for every donor to know what their blood group is, as there is need for compatibility between the donor and the recipient. We do all blood grouping at National Blood Service using automated systems. This ensures that our processes are as error-free as possible and also speeds up the delivery of the results to the laboratory information systems to make sure that our testing turnaround time is kept within 48 hours from the time that the unit is donated to the time that the unit can be provided to the patient. So, and blood grouping is hereby done again in this donations testing laboratory. We are in the compatibilities testing laboratories, which is one of the exit routes through which blood leaves the NBSZ. As I mentioned before, blood can leave via the dispatch laboratory, whereupon blood is ordered by hospitals as bulk stock. But it can also leave through the compatibilities testing laboratory, whereby specific hospitals or clinicians will order blood for a specific patient. In these compatibility testing laboratories, a sample for a specific patient is brought to the NBSZ laboratory, accompanied by a request form, and the doctor specified the type of products that they require for that patient and the number of products that they require. When the sample is brought into the laboratory, we first and foremost perform a blood group on the sample of the patient. Once we have determined the type of blood group that the patient is, we then go into the fridge to pick up the appropriate blood group. If it is blood group A, blood group O, blood group B, or blood group AB, we pick up units corresponding to the blood group of the patient and we bring them to the work area. We then perform what is called a cross match, where we are now matching the blood group of the patient to the blood group of the donor to make sure that even though they are of the same blood group, the two are actually compatible, hence the name Compatibilities Laboratory. And if we find that the two are compatible, we release the product for use. And then we alert the hospital to say that the product is ready for use. And this process is available 24 hours, 7 days a week, which means that even any time that a patient requires that particular service, the clinicians just need to pick up the phone, and we are always on standby to provide that service. Not only that, we even have a driver that will be in standby to provide the service by delivering the products to hospitals that may need this particular service. So this is the compatibility testing laboratory, which is one of the exit routes for our blood and blood products to those services that do not have compatibility testing laboratories at their premises.
Zikuru vanorwa